Good morning. Welcome to Presence of Light with charlierivermanbergeron here on Humanity Healing. It's always a joy and a pleasure to be with you, to prepare for this talk throughout the week. It's usually about what comes and presents itself, and I share with you my revelations and messages as I walk in service to the world. And so this morning's talk, as I arose, was being in service and about being in service. So thank you. Good morning, Anita. And good morning to all who are arriving. It's been an interesting time this week, and especially with yesterday being 8/8. So there are many people who are probably thinking twice about a lot of things at this point, not only because of the alignments, but within your own heart, there's been shifting and growing. I like that word, growing, of our heart center. Not so much in the terms of an enlargement per se, but a deepening into it and coming to a better understanding of how we, as these beings with this amazing energy field, can use that now in ways that have not been acceptable for so long. And so the shifting of the energies of the planet and the shifting of energies within ourselves are now allowing us to see new opportunities and perhaps fulfill dreams of our childhood, which didn't align with the world around us, and which we were told to stop thinking like that, or you can't do this, or placed with a bunch of limitations. And we're now breaking free of all of those limitations. Good morning, Catherine. Good morning, Mary. Deepening resonates. Yes, deepening. We are deepening into this heart space. It's really important that we're careful now with the words we use to describe what we're experiencing and how we can experience it more fully as well. So as I sat down to write this morning, my show notes, which I don't, as I say, I don't plan these talks. They're usually stem out of my life experience. And I've become fond of pulling several cards to confirm it, and they're a random pick, and weave them into this fabric of this talk show. So as I begin, and I began earlier, it says being in service. So let's think on a greater level about how we can honor each other as beings of service. Because it's not just about the doing, it's about the embodying that concept, if you will. Right now, for some, it's just a concept of being a being of service. So yesterday was 8/8 Stargate. We call it Lion's Gate. And it's a beautiful galactic alignment that has been recorded and held sacred for thousands of years. And it's the alignment of our planet Earth, the star Sirius, and the galactic center. And so there are many stories about that. I encourage you all to look at them deeply and to discern for yourself how that feels within your own energy field. It is as I look at it, a reminder of our connection and powerful and unlimited energies of creation. And so it began yesterday morning when I impromptu scheduled an entrainment. And I was driving to that, and I went down a road that I drive down a lot, and was not overly looking for anything or overtly looking for anything. But I passed by, it was a fence that I'd passed by many times, and there were two lambs laying down, facing each other, and yet facing the road as I was approaching them. And they were just laying down peacefully, and it had rained in the morning, the grass was wet, it wasn't really sunny, it was sort of overcast. And there they were, these two lambs, in a perfectly peaceful pose. And I'd never seen them before on the road. I'm sure they've lived there for a long time. And immediately the message came to me as I was driving, was similar to a Bible passage. And the message in the words that came to me were, the lion will lay down with the lamb. Let me repeat that. The lion will lay down with the lamb. And immediately I visioned humanity as the lion. And all of nature's creation outside of humanity was the lamb. And that beautiful passage reminded me, there is one in the Bible. It's not the lamb, and it's not the lion and the lamb. I believe it's the wolves and the lamb. But it talks about a time where paradise will be restored. And I was just taken away with that vision and that offering that guidance had led me to as I passed by to have this physical entrainment. And usually when I go there, I bring the messages that occur to me on the morning when I arrive there or go there. And that was the message I delivered. And I've been delivering it to people for the past, for yesterday and now to all of you this morning. That there are many stories about paradise returning, and some call it the second coming of Christ. There are many ways we can speak of this. It's something that's cyclical, and we are now coming back into that cycle, if you will, where if we go around the wheel, and I'll speak about the wheel later, but we go around the wheel, we're entering into this upswing where people and everything is becoming more cohesive. And I know it doesn't appear to be like that on the surface and outside, and many of you are in distress, but it's happening. And that yesterday was the message from and through that 8-8 Stargate. So I leave that with each of you in your hearts, is to hold on to the positive notes that appear in your life, and not to dismiss the negative, but look at them as not having the power they once had over you. Because this is what's happening. We're coming to full power. Rising in glory is the words that come to my mind. And we're strengthening our ability to be of service and in service, not only to each other, but firstly to ourselves. For if we can't be in service to ourselves, what are we presenting to others? So as always, I tell people, look within, correct, realign, remove what is no longer resonant with your heart space, and know that it, whatever it was, served its purpose and is no longer needed. We need to make room for the new. It's just like cleaning out your house of all the old junk. We'll fill it with more junk. This is our human nature. But rather than junk, let's fill it with light and peace and love. So with that said, yes, it was, Catherine. I mean, I was just totally amazed about the encounter and the vision, and it was instantaneous. And I love when that synchronicity happens, because it's just, again, as I speak of synchronicity, when those moments happen, it's a confirmation that we're listening, we're tuned in. Our guides, our spirits, our angels, however you want to look at that aspect of ourself, higher dimensional selves, we're connected. The connections are there. And it always encourages me to deepen that relationship and to trust it more. So I offer that. So thank you for putting that in the column over here. And so the first card this morning is my favorite. They're always my favorite. Silly human. But it's a galaxy card, a galactic card. And it's not describing any real famous galaxy, but the message is service. Okay, and service, and you know what it has is a little meaning and then some affirmations. So the meaning, or the main character of the card is, I am an energetic worker and I am willing to serve. As I serve others, I serve my higher power. This is the message of service, is that when we offer ourselves to be in service, which is our natural path, by the way, everything else is part of what I call the illusion of who we are. And it serves the illusion, not the truth of who we are as these beautiful beings of service. So I am an energetic worker and I am willing to serve. A simple enough statement that each of you can take away with you. As I serve others, I serve my higher power. And this is the key to all the work we do as these amazing beings in service. It's a mutual co-creative process. So as we serve others, we first have to recognize our ability to be of service. And when we recognize our ability to be of service, it allows us to serve more easily and more effortlessly. So this is important to remember now and in the future, and especially as we're moving very rapidly, is that when we come home to our hearts and when we dwell in this space of our hearts, rather than the space of our minds, we come into a higher balance. Doesn't mean we can't balance the mind, but the mind isn't going to be as much of service to the world and humanity and all life here on this planet as our heart is right now. The time of the mind is ending. The time of the heart is beginning. That just came through me right now. So this is where we're at. This is when we stand up and offer ourselves to be of service in any shape, manner, or form. There's no greater, there's no lesser. Whatever, every little gift we can give of service, whether it be a smile or a laugh or a pat on the back, a moment of encouragement for somebody who's not feeling up to par. It's as simple as that. Singing a happy song sends the vibration out into the world. It can be that simple. It doesn't take great skills or great wisdom or a great memory or whatever you feel is holding you back from being in service. Remember this one thing. There is nothing that can hold you back from being in service. But first, we must be in service to ourselves. And of course, we were taught that was selfishness. Amazing, isn't it? How the world has perpetrated this facade of everything you do is being selfish. Years ago, I changed it to self-full. And I don't mean it full of itself in an ego sense, but I'm full of self in heart space and heart resonance. So some of the affirmations for that card are, as I journey through each day with joyous intentions. Note the joyous intentions. I bring assistance and pleasure to others. It's that joy that we carry that shifts the energy of others. Just as that negative or sad energy also shifts their energy. And we just create the same field, just larger. So it behooves us to be joyous. And when everybody else is around us, find the joy. And I know sometimes joy in certain instances is not seemingly appropriate, but it doesn't mean joy in a sense of exuberance or outrageousness. It just means be happy in your heart with yourself. And that joy will radiate even if we do nothing. I look for opportunities to serve, even if it is just a smile and a friendly gesture. I know that I serve others. I serve my Creator. And in those statements, what we recognize is the oneness, the lack of separation. This is what we're heading towards, is a lack of separation. First, by diminishing separation. And then the lion will lay with the lamb, because that's what it's all about, is separation. So those are some affirmations. With that said, let's look deeper into ourselves, at the unique gifts and abilities that each of us have to be of service and uplift the energy in ourselves and in each other, and even the people we don't even know. It's interesting how we set limitations on our happiness or our service or our willingness to assist others. What would life be if we could, at first, just move those sort of fences a little bigger and claim a little more space, and everybody that comes into that larger space is welcome and able to receive that joyous heart resonance that we are. Granted, sometimes we're going to have to shut it back down again, but play with that, expanding that heart resonance area that you carry, that field of resonance. Play with it. Work with it. Know that this is who you really are, that you are this amazing being of light and love, and your duty or responsibility, I don't like the word duty, to yourself is really to express that. And when we don't, we're only limiting ourselves as well as others. But firstly, we're limiting ourselves from that experience. Let me see what I got in my notes here. It was so quick that I had to write. every time we reach deep within our hearts to serve others, we are drawing the light within us, drawing it within us and expressing it outwardly. And in that moment, we're honoring our unified presence. Again, displacing the separation. And it's not a trick. It's not an illusion. It's really the original story of creation. That in a world of darkness, light entered and life became abundant in many, many forms. More forms than we're even consciously aware of. Because as humans, we have this limited mental ability, and it's expanding now. We're beginning to see things that nobody's ever seen before, and recognize them, and talk to them, and work with them. And I know for some people that sounds real crazy, but as a planetary healer and worker of realms that people don't, in realms of energy that nobody understands fully, I experience it. And I share with you that you too can experience this as well, and probably are, but may have a little bit of fear or resistance to accepting that. Wow, time flies, 10:22. Anyway, life cards. The next card is life cards, and it's a beautiful little card, and it has an opposite. It has two opposing things: fantasy and dream. And so the story of that card is the story, the dream. The story and the dream may guide the journey. The story in the dream usually does guide the story, but we've been told that's just a dream or a fantasy. But there's a difference between dreams and fantasy. Fantasies are dreams without action. And fantasies will always stay in the future. And that's what the card is telling us. That if we have dreams that are empowering to us and empowering to others, let's bring them forth. Let's manifest them. And let's manifest them now. Because now is the time where all of those dreams collectively will become the fabrics, will become the threads of the new fabric. This is what we are. We're creators. We're co-creators in service to each other, to the earth, to all life. It reminded me of how many dreams I've had in my life as to who I would be or what I desired, and all of which went unfulfilled. Sadness is the emotion that sometimes arises within me, just like you. What could have been, what might have been. And the shifting now is the energies is really telling us that it isn't the dreams within our head that were important. It's the dreams we had in our heart. And right now is a time to think about those heart dreams of what was so wonderful that everybody around you said you were just a dreamer, or you were just you're living in fantasy world, or etc. Shut that down. Shut that talk down. We don't want to hear that. This is reality. You've got to work hard. You've got to do this. You've got to serve. You blah, 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 blah. No wonder we're miserable. Do that to an animal. Do you think you'll get love back from an animal? No. That's our animal. This is our animal mind. This is our AI. I call it the original AI. It's perfect. It does exactly, it's supposed to do exactly what it's doing. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just we forgot that the heart is the true self. The mind is the artificial expression of that. Come back to your heart. The mind cannot fully understand peace, light, and love. There are no realities for it because the mind creates its own realities. And depending on what it's fed, it will become exactly what it's fed. And when it's fed hatred, injustice, separation, denial, and when it's not recognized as being sovereign, or because it can't be, because it's part of the collective consciousness, it will just repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat until we get out of it and look back and say, you're beautiful, you're wonderful, but you're not in charge anymore. For the rest of my life, I'm going to live from my heart center, not my head center. And so it is peace, light, and love which have been merely held as desires of the dreamer. Well, we're more than dreamers now. We're here to be in service. A couple of minutes left. And the last card is a deck. It's called Affirmations for the Everyday Goddess. It's a beautiful picture, and it's called the Wheel of Fortune. And the Wheel of Fortune is an amazing, how do I call this? Amazing field of energy to tap into. And the quote on this is, there are an infinite number of possibilities in my life. So again, we have been entrained to believe in limitations. Because if you are limited, then somebody can have power over you. We give up our sovereignty through limitation and belief in them. And so the card reads, Fortune teaches us to embrace the unfolding of life's events, while paradoxically reminding us to take responsibility for creating personal destiny. As the universe expands and evolves, its mysteries become part of matter. You are a part of the cosmos, and as such, you co-create your own reality. And that co-creation is with the universe. The Wheel of Fortune is not a game of chance at the beach, as I remember it me in my childhood. Fool the Guesser, the Wheel of Fortune. All those became a game. It became less important and more of a joke, a fantasy. But the Wheel of Fortune is a reminder of the many positive choices we can make at any given point in our spiraling path of life. It is a representation of the abundance of creation. Quote, the whole absolute cosmic pattern, which we can utilize in any given moment. Which brings us around the Wheel of Fortune we've just experienced here and back to the opening of the stars, the alignment of stars that went around in a cycle and now line up again. A new beginning. There are so many new beginnings in our human year of life that we can jump in at any point and tap into the energies of those galactic alignments and use them to empower us to break free from the bonds that hold us back from being more in service to each other and to all life on this planet. And so again, my final words I wrote this morning were, it reminds and gives us another opportunity to once again choose to serve in alignment with our higher self, remembering that any form of separation from our hearts or the emotions it may cause us to feel or experience is only the roaring lion. The lion will lay down with the lamb when the lamb chooses to no longer be fearful of its true identity and lives in service rather than fear. So with that, my dear friends and beloved family around the world, I thank you once again for showing up, for listening, whether it be at this point or in the future. And even if you never listen to these words that I bring forth in my heart resonance, it is already in place now. And this is why it's important to be of service and to stand up and do whatever it is you can to help and assist everyone else in this co-creation of an energy field which is uplifting and expanding at a time where it's so desperately needed. And the more who join us at any level is perfect. With that, I'm complete. I thank you. I thank you. I love you. I respect you. I am you. You are me. And we are unity. May you have a blessed week. May some of the words and thoughts that occurred during this wonderful talk sit well with you and expand them in your own unique way. I'm not here to say my way is the only way. Many have done that before. And I think we've learned that each one of us are in charge of our own sovereignty. I love you. I thank you. Have a great week. Bye-bye.